All right, so we kicked off with a couple of more like aspirational sorts of panels. This one's going to be a little more grounded, a little more tangible. We're not going full accountant, but maybe a wee bit of accountant. So we are going to talk about total cost of ownership in this panel, and we're going to start with another polling question. What do you think can have the most positive impact on Ecomm's business performance? So you can scan that. You can scan it in signage. I'll wait till I see the phones are down before I click to the next. Or no, Jay already took care of it, or somebody did. So, new apps, better platforms, improved team alignment, better usage of existing apps, or something else entirely. Out of those 5 options, what do you think can have the most positive impact on financial performance from an Ecomm perspective? I don't know how much recency bias might be showing up in these answers with the team alignment, because that was a big topic of the last panel. Kind of shifted, right? Once more answers come in, because at first, I don't know, maybe there's only one answer at first, but new apps was the leading contender. So I think there's some interesting information there. We'll share all of this afterwards too. So with that, let's welcome to the stage our total cost of ownership panel. Here to talk no Leprechauns and logic. We have from Bloomreach, Jessica Williamson. From Ellevet, Shaun White. Our very own Titan, J.E. And Shopware, Steph Ryan. All right, so hopefully we can stay on the rails without you back there steering the ship. Yeah, so. By the way, let's kick the panel off with a congratulations to Steph, because today, if I recall from my notes, is your 3-year anniversary at Shopware today. So, round of applause. We're going to start with the merchant. I always like to make sure we get the merchants plenty of sunshine here. So, Shaun, let's start with you, because you're a business guy, but you've talked about how not every decision goes through a rigorous TCO, ROI kind of framework. And so, talk about how you work around the edges there compared to when you really drive it through a financial model.
Yeah, so not everything, as Darren pointed out, is ROI driven, right? I think the thing that we all focus, I've spent a lot of time in the dev side, is efficiency and revenue protection and cost savings, right? So you can rely on vendors who they have really good ROI models, but like was talking earlier panel, data is key. So if you're providing poor data, you're gonna get a poor ROI result. But for things like cost savings and things like that, talking to your people and sort of understanding how does this make us more efficient? The more efficient we are, the better the end goal is for the consumer. And those are conversations with senior leadership, but the people who are doing the work as well is really critical. And we spend a lot of time internally having those conversations. We have a budget, it's a rigorous process that we go through that. But when we can show clear savings, that's something that's pretty easy for us to do because our people are so hands-on. So spending time understanding the problems you're trying to solve is really, really important in that aspect, and then bringing that to your senior leaders and saying, hey, we can save money here, we can grow the business here, we can do this, and use whatever vendors can provide with you. And if your internal finance teams, which we have an ROI model, spend time with them. But again, data is key there. If you're garbage in, garbage out.
So Steph, towards that end, when we hear what merchants are asking for with how they want to try to capitalize on TCO, ROI, on our side of the table, on the ecosystem side, particularly from a platform perspective, when is the right time to start to work with them on those conversations, and how might those conversations unfold?
Absolutely. So I think you have to have 2 important conversations before talking TCO as a whole. And it's educating each other on a little bit about the merchant's business and a little bit about how e-commerce ecosystems work. So the first conversation is educating the merchant on how e-commerce platforms and technologies make their money, because they're all different, right? Some are license fees only, some have a really heavy app store, some make their money on payments. And so educating the merchant on the differences there will help them get in the right mindset for the questions they need to ask to start thinking through TCO. The other conversation we need to have is we need to understand the merchant's business and understand how they're going to recognize cost for e-commerce, because it helps us get into the right mindset to present to them. So we need to know, are they a B2B distributor who's gonna see this as CapEx, where, okay, over the lifetime of this commerce platform, we're gonna evenly space this out? Or are they a high transaction B2C seller who's looking at OpEx saying, okay, per transaction, we're gonna start to see these costs unfold on our books. So then we, as the group of sellers, can start to have those TCO conversations where we're educated on their business and they're educated on how we all go to market as well.
So businesses are more than a story. I want to come to you on this one, JE. Or they're more than a spreadsheet. They're also a story. And so what should trigger a business to know that they're a story that nobody wants to read or watch, and they need to reassess how they're building that story with their apps and their technology and what they're putting out there?
So first off, I did not want to speak, but I did want to hold a title belt on the stage. So I have that figured out. But to answer your question...
He didn't have a choice, by the way.
I was, voluntold. Taking a deep look into your, business moves super fast. Ecomm, especially from COVID on, has moved faster than we can really keep up with unless you're on the throttle every day, all the time, and at night, and while you sleep, and everything else, right? So the perfect time to take a look at TCO is when you're building a new platform, re-platforming, right? Then you can kind of look at everything. Not everybody's that lucky to be able to re-platform. So how do you take that time and take a step back and say, what are all the things that I've done to build my tech stack, and is that the right way to build it if I were to do it again? Some of you can do that based on like a fiscal calendar year where you can take that look in and actually put dollars to tech and tech investments and staffing and everything. And some of you need to make time to do that. Some of you might have too busy of a fourth quarter to figure that out. So Q1 is your time to kind of take a deep breath and say, how do we build a better mousetrap? If you sell mousetraps. But how do we take a look at just what's been done over time? Because when you build a platform, you get a great opportunity to take that step and say, what are we going to do now? But if you're building and iterating and iterating and iterating like we are with a lot of SaaS-based platforms, you have to take the time to say, what have we done? Does that still make sense? Is there a better way to do it? And then the fiscal part on the backside is, is it making us money? How much does it cost? Does that fit into where we are? The best way to do that is really just auditing what you have. So you're going to need to take a deep dive and say, why do we do this way? Is it still the most effective way to do it for us? And that takes time. But it is an incredible investment into your platform, into your business operations, whether that's brick and mortar or just online. And if you don't take the time, you're really doing a detriment to yourself. The people who have done that refocus since COVID, when everything was fast and furious, are the ones that are seeing the biggest ROI jump and the biggest total cost of ownership increase.
Jessica, let's jump over to you. Not just because you have the best outfit of all the panelists so far today, and I'm sure you would win throughout the rest of the day too. But you've seen merchants galore overspend on tools and technology. So when does more technology become a liability instead of an advantage?
Yeah, I think it's really where the data lies and how the integrations are set up. If you have a ton of different, let's say, technology platforms for different things of your business, I hope that they all integrate together, right? But that's kind of where the problem comes into play is they might integrate well, but you might not know how to actually use the data that's in each platform. So unless you're working with an incredible agency like Irish Time that can do it for you, I think it's really important to where's all my data living? What data is really important? And how are we not syncing that? How are we not using this data? because data lying on the table that you're unable to use is just the liability that we're talking about here, where you're spending money and you can't even use the information that you're gathering from your website or from your ERP or anything that you're using. And so it becomes a liability when you can't use the data and when the integrations continue to keep breaking or just don't really work anymore.
I didn't tee that question up very well because I wanted that to be a shamrock round. So I'm going to invite other people to chime in on that. Shaun, do you have any thoughts, perspective on when more technology is a liability compared to when it's an advantage?
Yeah, I've seen this a lot, right? You have tools that do very, very similar things, but they're being used for one thing specifically, and you're spending a boatload of money. And we do audits ourselves where we look and say, okay, we're spending X on this. This other tool does that. We should probably look to get out of that contract, or are we on a month-to-month, like figure that out. Absolutely, and then you run into tech debt. And then what you're doing is you're taking employees off of driving additional business and putting them on trying to investigate, how are these supposed to work together, right? And so it's really smart to take a step back and have leadership look at these items and work with your partners to say, yeah, like we don't need this anymore. We can do this with this other platform, so.
Right. Any thoughts on perspective on best of breed versus best of suite? This is totally, we're going off the rails. We didn't talk about this at all. But any thoughts about best of breed versus best of suite, right? Like a app that is the best at fill in the blank versus an app that is more than good enough at a number of things.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm always looking forward to do the number of things because of the size of the organization we are. Right? I think that is a huge part of it, right? If you can get an app that can do a lot of different things, even if they're not excellent at all of them, you're getting efficiencies there, which is incredibly important for a smaller company. Bigger company, bigger budget, then you're probably looking at best of class there because you probably have a bigger customer set than we do. So.
Yeah, I think that over the years there's been sort of a pendulum that goes back and forth between best of breed and best of suite. Steph, let's come over to you because what I'd like to hear from you is ROI can be tough to calculate, right? It's one thing to calculate it from a platform's perspective. It's another to start to layer in apps. It's another to lay in the SI, the agency. Maybe another thing to layer in what impacts it might have on the merchant if they have people impacts. So how would you suggest going about that more robust sort of TCO ROI modeling?
I think we need to have a great agency to do a lot of that discovery for this group here. Relying on the agency to know the merchant, know what motivates them, know like what their needs are, what's their appetite for complexity, what's their appetite for custom versus out of the box. Like I kind of said before, not all e-commerce platforms are made equal. We're really good at these features out of the box and the rest is custom. Some are pretty bare bones, but we've got a great app store that can supplement all these different things. And so knowing that best of breed versus best of suite, we need to know how the merchant does business and what their super complex needs are, what the intricacies of their business is to be able to bring the right players to the table to calculate that TCO. Again, with like B2B versus B2C, high SKU, low SKU, and speaking the right language with them.
So let's do a shamrock round that I'm remembering to tee up. And Jay, let's start with you. Building on your first comment and question, do you think we're at a point now where there can be a shift from tool accumulation to tool optimization? Is that shift happening?
Yeah, and I think the answer isn't always more apps or different apps, right? The answer is a combination of the fact that in the last, how many people would say that they experienced rapid growth during COVID, right? How many have gone back and said, what the heck did we do during that period of time, right? Some? But I think when you take in, best of breed wasn't even necessarily a term during early COVID. It's just, we gotta find something that works. We gotta go, right? And now we have not only tools, but we have platforms that have evolved 5 years from then, and they have a lot of that built in. And a lot of the things that you wrote custom code for 5 years ago is now part of a platform's tool deck, right? And yes, there's still a need for a lot of custom development and apps that work wonderfully, But as a perfect example, like we keep talking about data silos and data and talking to each other and all kinds of things, but like most merchants started with, can I just email my customers? What are they doing? Then can I email them what they like? Can I text them what they like? Now can I change my website based on when they hit the site to show them what they like? Can that linger around on every social media across their entire buying journey? And if that doesn't happen, you're missing opportunities to reduce complexity and increase fluidity of a customer's journey. Because when you have a bloated tech stack or you have just excess code, you're slowing down pages, you're slowing down checkout, you're slowing down the customer being happy and actually just buying your product. And if you don't have the time or the effort to break all that down and work on what's actually going to improve that process, then everything else is just debt to a customer's experience.
Go ahead, Jessica.
Just to piggyback off of that, I think post-COVID, I feel like there's a big saturation of the market of everything, right? Like everyone's on Instagram, everyone's on TikTok, everyone's doing these things. And I think like the big difference nowadays is how are you going to personalize your message to your customers, right? Like if I'm a snowboarder and I like pink jackets, how are you going to make sure that I know that the pink snowboarding jackets are on sale on your website, right? It's not necessarily just that brand recognition, but how do you know the person that you're reaching out to? How does your technology allow you to understand the customer that you're reaching out to or the prospect that you're trying to actually convert into a customer? And so like going along with that post-COVID, it's that personalization piece where is your technology actually allowing you to understand your customer and who they are and what they want and be able to, whether they like SMS or whether they like email, you can actually meet them where they are and make sure that they're actually able to convert. And so your ROI can actually increase on there. So post-COVID, personalization is going to be the key that I've at least been seeing, and how is your technology going to match that?
And personalization is really empowered by AI. Like AI is rocket fuel for personalization.
Absolutely.
Anything else from the panel on where we are with usage and optimization?
I think, I have kind of an operational background. I think we're not just selling to e-commerce people. That position does not exist in a lot of organizations. And I know I've seen firsthand that a lot of times the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing. Finance managing your payments doesn't know that marketing is using a email marketing engine, that IT is owning the website. And so understanding that e-commerce is not just a platform, it's all of these things, and do the pieces that you have in place as a merchant all talk to each other. And that's where like partnerships among the agencies, the tech partners, the platforms really make a difference to say, like, have you talked to your marketing people? Have you talked to IT? Who's actually making these decisions? Because you might already have some things in place. We can recommend how to optimize those. But a lot of times the people managing the e-commerce platform are like, oh, I didn't even know we had that. Or, like our team was like using some AI note taker and our IT team was using another, and we're like, oh, we have one for the company, like we got to talk to each other internally and start selling to the business as a whole and not just who we think is owning that e-commerce component as well.
Right. Shaun, you want to answer that?
Yeah, just one small thing. Test things out, right? A lot of these companies have free trials. They'll have things like, if you use this for 2 months and you don't like it, we won't charge you for it. But test them out, but don't just test to test. Have a plan. Understand what you are trying to solve for, and then test the software. And we have to go through this a lot at Ellevet because we're a small dev team where companies build their businesses off building these tools. So why would we want to build that and not maintain it? And that goes into the ROI itself. If my development team is focused on trying to replicate some analytics tool, probably not a good investment of their time. So trial these things out. The companies do an amazing job of making these very easy to integrate to your platforms.
While you have the stage, let's stick with you because at Ellevet, you've been experimenting with customer service and development automation in both of those areas. So how are you deciding what's worth automating versus what still needs the human touch?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we pride ourselves on is we have an amazing customer experience team, just amazing. I don't know how many folks here are pet owners or horse owners, but as you can imagine, our product is CBD-based pet supplement, right? So customers are gonna want to have that human touch where they're saying, hey, like, is this gonna get my dog high? I mean, like, just simple things like that, or my dog takes Apoquil, how is this gonna interact? So we need to have that, but at the same time, how can we have automation, whether it's a chat bot or an agent or automated FAQs or simply an email when somebody tries to reach out to customer support that comes back with automated messages that give them potentially the answers that they need, but still encourage them if they're still struggling to call in. And then on the dev side, we use AI constantly. I mean, my dev team, daily is using it to look at code, right? There's a lot of trust but verify there, but that helps us from an efficiency and a time to market. So we're always balancing that because there is still, we all know we like to talk to a human a little bit more than getting a chat bot, et cetera. But we also know that there are very simple questions that can be answered by using automation and chatbots.
Yeah, yeah. Let's land the plane with a Shamrock round. And Jessica, I want to start with you because we've all seen AI fatigue setting in, right? So how can leaders strategically introduce AI priorities and tactics so that they save time and money?
Yeah, I think everyone's like, our goal, use AI. And you're like, okay, what the hell does that mean? And I think the big thing is how can you actually use AI to make your work more efficient? How can you actually do more? It's not like, all right, we're going to use AI. It's like, we have this requirement, we have this is like what our day looks like. Now, out of those things that we have to do, how can AI come in and automate things or make it easier for you to do more? And so when wanting to use AI within your company, it's, okay, what are we already doing, right? Is there a technology that can actually help us be more efficient and take some of that load off of your brain, off of like doing the mundane tasks, so you can actually focus on doing more revenue-generating activities instead of just saying, oh, we do AI to do AI. It's, oh my God, this AI is actually freeing up my day, and I can do so many more things, and I'm not having to learn a brand new technology that's just going to be a headache in a few weeks. And so, how can you actually make it efficient, not just add AI to add AI?
Steph, you want to chime in?
Yeah, I love that point of, about like not really knowing where to start with AI. Like I have this to-do list, use AI. It's like, what? This might sound really stupid, but ask AI how to use it for your to-do list. It was like a aha moment for me when I was like, okay, my boss is like, use AI more. I'm like, how do I do this? And I typed in, I was like, okay, here's my job. Here are my priorities. What can I use you for? And it actually is really helpful. Like, we don't have to have all the ideas, and we don't have to have all the answers with how to use AI. Like, ask it.
Shaun?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've seen work really well in companies is monthly, weekly, bi-weekly, it depends on the cadence of the company, is have a show and tell, right? How do I use AI in my daily life? And I think you would be shocked how different people use it and how, if I watch 1 week this person do it, it's going to generate an idea that I have, and maybe the next time I present, I build upon that and somebody does. So being open about it and having conversations with your colleagues, I think is just a nice, simple way of saying, hey, wow, I didn't even know you could do that, right? Versus me trying to Google it or look it up in different ways or use ChatGPT to tell me how to do it. Just having a conversation and having a little bit of show and tell.
And just to piggyback off on that, sorry to take the mic again, but like, how is the technology that you're using able to like use the AI as well? Like, as a marketing automation platform, what do we have going on in the platform that can make your marketing team more efficient? And I think that's where it comes into what are the requirements of your job and of what we have to do. What's the mundane stuff that it drives us insane that we have to do it, but we have to do it to make it work? Those are the things that AI can automate for you and make it a lot easier for you to be more efficient. So coming back to that total cost of ownership, in your platform that you're looking at and evaluating, how is AI being used to make it more efficient so your team has more time to do more things?
Yeah, I think one of the first waves of the benefits of AI has been automation, right? And Jason Nias, if he's still here, mentioned it on stage. I think he said it last year, and I stole it and used it a bunch myself, right? Like AI is at its best when it does blue-collar work for white-collar workers so that we can spend our time doing things that are a little bit more high value. So let's give a round of applause to our panelists. You can pick up your prizes over there.